Welcome, Ms. Swahili. So welcome aboard. Welcome to your left-hand side. Make room for everybody in our party. If your group is not going to fit with that one in front of you, don't worry. Let's go on that very next truck. For the right-hand side, watch your hands on feet and legs with the door side closed.
No, aqui, ó, na lateral aqui assim.
As long as on a word, that means thank you in Swahili. And here in Harambe, we also say Twende, which means let's go. Jamba, everybody, welcome aboard. My name is Josie. I'll be your safari guide as we venture through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. And as we're heading out there, some things we do have to do for your safety. Please remember to remain fully seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck at all times. And when I say fully seated, I mean fully seated, and that includes everyone, even if they're in your lap, they need to remain fully seated in the lap they're currently sitting in throughout our entire journey today. This is a real truck, but I am really driving, and we're going to go see some very real animals, and you can use that spotting right above your head to help you to identify or recognize any of them. We're just going to hang out here for one more second until we get that final all clear from the ward, and then we'll head on into the reserve. We're going to be starting our 2-week-long journey here in the Little Ituri Forest. And the forest is going to be home to some pretty shy and reclusive animals that tend to be very good at hiding, as they're all amazing camouflagers, and that's going to be their main defense mechanism from predators.
Alguns animais podem ser bem tímidos, então eles podem se esconder assim.
Olha esse.
Now, the copper colored antelopes up on your left-hand side here are the bongos, and they're actually a great example of a very shy and reclusive animal. They're known as the ghosts of the forest because of how rarely they're seen. But both male and female bongos are going to have horns on their head, but these ones are females. Males are a little bit larger and a little bit darker in coloration. On your inside here, these are the okapi. Many people assume that the okapi are related to zebras because of those beautiful black and white striped legs, but they're actually the only known relative of the giraffe. And we know that because of the shapes of their skulls and their really long prehensile tongues. And a prehensile is just a very fancy scientific word that means finger-like. So they can use their tongues as an appendage to grasp and pull leaves off the trees. Out on top of the hill on your left-hand side here, this is one of the black rhinos. And the black rhinoceros is actually the smaller of the two species we here on the reserve, but they still have about 3,000 pounds. But they're considered to be small for a rhino. And they have a triangular shaped top lip, which is also that prehensile we were talking about with the okapi's tongue. So it's super muscular and helps them to eat here in the forest. And it's also one of the main differences between them and other rhino species. And up on your right-hand side here, these lighter gray antelopes are the greater kudu. And unlike the bongos that we saw, only the males of the species have horns on their head. So these ones have to see all females. Well, they have a striped pattern on their back, kind of like the bongos, and that helps them to camouflage with the sunlight coming in through the trees. These very large black and white birds here on your left-hand side are the saddle-billed storks. They get their name from the saddle shape on their bill, and they'll stand up to about 5 feet tall with wingspans of about 9 feet in length. These two here are lovebirds. They're a mated pair, and once they partner up, they're known to mate for life. We are now crossing over into the Safi River Valley, and the Safi River does run through the forest, so there's still going to be a lot of trees and greenery throughout here, but it's going to be home to some aquatic animals and also some land animals that still like to hang out in and around the water as well. On your right-hand side here, there is a pod of pink-backed pelicans, and that pink coloration in their name is going to become a lot more vibrant during their mating season. And they've also got around a 7 to 9 foot wingspan, just like those saddle-billed storks. And if you look closely by this tree stump in the water here, there are a couple of Nile hippopotamus in there. They're almost completely submerged in the water, which is exactly where hippos choose to spend the majority of their life. They can hold their breath for about 8 minutes before they come up for air. There are some more off on your left-hand side as well. I hope a load of hippos over there.
Olha que bonito.
But it's not a funny group animal that spends most of their time in the water. Hippos don't actually swim. Instead, they're going to walk or run because they're pretty dense. They weigh upwards of about 5,500 pounds. So it uses a lot less energy to just sink down to the bottom and look rather than try to swim. But hippos are herbivores, meaning they only eat grasses and plants, so every once in a while you might get lucky enough to see one come out of the water to graze off those banks. But despite being herbivores, they have very large teeth with their incisors growing to be about 18 inches long. As we head over this bridge, hanging out down below us, there are the Nile crocodiles. So we're going to go pulley very slowly over the bridge. Make sure you're still fully seated for me, please. Everyone needs to be sitting down, even if they're in your lap. They need to be sitting down, please.
Crocodilo.
Só que fosse pedra.
São dois.
My friends towards the back, you need to be sitting down,
Oh,
please.
tem o
Thank
bebê
you.
ali no meio. Oh, ele abriu a boca. Ele abriu a boca.
The Nile crocodiles are the largest crocodilian species in Africa. They can grow to be about 16 feet long, weigh about 500 pounds. And you usually always see them staying very still. A lot of times they look like statues, but they are very real. They just stay super still because that helps them to conserve their energy and allows them to go about 7 days without eating. But as you can probably imagine, that's going to work up a very large appetite. So much so that in a single sitting, they will consume about half their body's weight worth of food. And they can weigh up to about 500 pounds, so pretty impressive.
Queria ver girafa.
Eu acho que nós vamos passar por ela.
But as we keep on moving here, you're probably going to notice a lot of the trees and greenery starting to thin out, and that's because we're heading down into the savannah.
Não, a gente vai sair dela. Será que não?
And on your right-hand side here is a very important part of the savannah ecosystem. This is a baobab tree. You've probably heard the baobab tree referred to as the tree of life. It's a pretty famous nickname that was given due to its incredible ability to hold thousands of gallons of water. And it does have our remaining leafless for about 9 months of the year.
Acho que a gente vai ver
And that's
assim.
going to make it a great water source for all the animals out here on the savannah to tap into, especially during their frequent drought periods. But the savannah, also known as the grasslands, is going to be home to some of the most famous animals on the reserve, like zebras, giraffes, elephants, and lions.
Ah, girafa ali. Boa, não tem
And the trees on your right hand side, these are the Maasai giraffes. And they can grow to be about 18 to 20 feet tall, making them the tallest land animals in the world.
Lá não tem.
And a giraffe will typically eat for about 16 to 20 hours a day. So travel time, they only have about 30 minutes left for sleep, which they're going to do in just 5-minute intervals throughout the day. But you'll normally see a giraffe doing most, if not all, of their daily activities standing up, including sleeping, because that is the least vulnerable position for them. So they're only going to lay down if they're really tired or if they're in an area where they're comfortable to do so, like on a protected reserve like this one. Now, even their young ones will be about 6 feet tall at birth, and they'll be up and moving around within the first hour of life. But helps them to defend themselves from predators and also ensures they're able to keep up with the group. And the group of giraffes is called a tower. On the hill on your left-hand side here, these are the African painted dogs. And they only be getting size dogs, which helps them to identify each other out in the wild, even over long distances. And I'm sure we can all agree that they're very, very cute, but please don't underestimate them because they're also Africa's most successful hunters. They hunt as a pack and in a tag team effort. They'll take turns chasing down their prey until their prey is exhausted.
Olha aqui os dois.
I know giraffes here on your left-hand side of the sable antelope. You might recognize them. They are the official emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Preserve. And they are chosen because they're known to be fighters out in the wild. Unlike many other antelope species, which tend to be a lot more skittish when it comes to predators, they're known to hold their ground and fight back using the razor-sharp horns on their head as their main defense mechanism. And their horns also curve backwards, which prevents any predators from leaping on them from behind. So if you didn't know they were the emblem of the reserve, take a look at the signs on your way out. You'll definitely notice them now.
Olha outra girafa ali. Olha aqui
Olha, ela não vê no nariz.
Não, é chegando.
A língua dela é azul.
Again, the giraffes have those really long prehensile tongues, just like we were talking about with the okapi back in the forest.
Yeah, I go walking. It's water.
And they also to reach the leaves off the trees as well as those really long necks. They actually have the exact same number of vertebrae in their necks as we have in ours. They have 7, just like us. They're obviously just much larger than ours.
Tá comendo.
A gente vai ver flamingo, olha.
Uhum.
Just like you.
Hey, look at you, Daddy.
A zebra tá lá na frente. Tá deitada lá.
Eu já tô vendo. Caixinha.
No, no, no. Can't get it.
Now over here on your right hand side, you can see one of the wildebeest, and just past that wildebeest there are some of the springbok. Now, there's only one wildebeest there, but out in the wild, they're known to travel in groups of as large as hundreds of thousands of individuals at a single time while they make their great migration. They'll still travel anywhere from about 500 to 1,000 miles, usually in search of food or water. And the springbok that you saw over there are the smallest antelope species on the reserve, but they are among the fastest animals in the world. They can reach speeds of about 55 miles an hour, which is just shy of a cheetah.
Olha que linda.
I got a really good view of a giraffe up here on your left-hand side, and we're also going to be approaching some of the Hartmann's mountain zebras. And the Hartmann's mountain zebras are the only zebra species to have what is called a dewlap on their necks. It's just a very small species of skin that aids in blood circulation, helps them to keep cool. And group of zebras is called a dazzle, and we recently had a few little babies join us here on the savannah. So one of them's over here by the bushes on your right-hand side. And one of them is super close to the road here. Again, they're very new to the reserve, so I'm going to ask that we are super quiet as we're passing by, because again, she's super close to the road and we don't want to spook her. And a group of zebras is called a dazzle, and they all have a unique set of stripes, just like a human fingerprint, but babies are super intelligent, and they have the ability to imprint on their mothers at birth, which just means that they can memorize their mom's stripe pattern, let's pick her up from the herd. And they can do that within just the first 15 to 30 minutes of life. So they're super smart. Wow. Thank you guys so much. The savannah is considered to be a pretty fragile ecosystem that's very heavily influenced by the animals that inhabit it. So to a lot of grazers like the zebras and the wildebeest who graze off the grass and keep it super short. Animals like giraffes prune the bottom of the trees, and the fallen down trees ahead of us here are a great sign of some elephants in the area. Elephants are known as the bulldozers of the savannah, and we are crossing over into elephant territory. And just up ahead of us here, there is an African elephant, and obviously we are in Africa, but another super easy way to identify this as an African elephant is by looking at the shape. They very closely resemble the shape of the continent of Africa. Very convenient. And they flap their ears against their body because there are a lot of blood vessels in their ears, so that helps them to keep cool, and they can bring their body temperatures down by about 15 degrees just by doing that. See if we can maybe get a little bit of a better view of him. But this is a male elephant. They tend to be a lot more solitary and territorial than the females are, so usually if you see one all by itself, you can safely assume it's a male. I'm going to pull up here and stop. You might have to crane your heads all the way back to the right there and look behind you. But you can kind of see his face a little bit better from over here. Sure, sit down, please. It's kind of hard to see, but we'll try up ahead of us and see if we can find any more elephants. And larger herds are going to be made up of females and their offspring, led by a matriarch, one of the oldest and wisest females of the group. And she'll start kicking the males out around the age of 15, and then they'll live on their own or in loose bachelor herds for the rest of their lives. Now, an adult male elephant can weigh up to about about 13,000 pounds. That means they can eat a whole lot, usually around 300 pounds of vegetation in a single day is pretty normal for them. But elephants are also herbivores, which means their diets mainly consist of fiber, and they wouldn't get all the nutrients they need just from that. So they're passing through these red clay pits. You're probably going to notice a lot of test marks all along them. Elephants snack on red clay because it serves as a very important multivitamin for them, and it's going to add those extra nutrients to their diets. So we're going to use their test today in there, try and loosen some of it up. And this is a great sign of some more elephants in the area as well. Like already over on your left hand side, there are quite a few of them. So this is a great sign that we're seeing females over here, and this is one of the matriarchal groups that lives on the reserve.
ఇక్కడ మోమెంట్ అతరు అంట మోమెంట్ బేబీ అంట ఎలిఫెంట్ తీసుకుని
Now we already looking at a little baby elephant out here right now. She's just in front of the baobab tree over there with her mom. And only about 8.5 months old. She was born on December 13th. And it takes a baby elephant. They have the longest gestation period of any mammal. It's about 22 to 24 months, so almost 2 years. Those babies are going to be born weighing about 300 pounds. So she might look very small over there, but I assume she's at least doubled in size since then. So super exciting. She's the first baby to be born on the reserve in 7 years. And she's the first second generation elephant. So her mom was the first baby born out here. And she was also born here. So very exciting all around.
You see that baby? He's the first baby born.
Might be able to get a little bit of a closer look.
Olha os patinhos ali.
Baby to baby.
And coming up in this next watering hole are the greater flamingos.
Olha os
The
flamingos.
greater infant their name does not mean that they're better than any other species, just larger than, and they also have the lightest shade of pink feathers than any flamingos. That iconic pink coloration does develop from their diets. They eat a lot of brine shrimp, which is rich in beta-carotene, and that's a protein that gives them that coloration. But babies are going to be born with gray feathers, and you might have been able to spot a few of them among the group there. It was hatched a couple months ago. But it will take them several years to develop that full pink coloration. And a group of flamingos has a pretty fun name. They're called a flamboyance. So I say flamboyance of flamingos. There's also a couple of ostriches just up ahead of us here. And these are females. You can tell because they have gray feathers, whereas the males have black and white. And despite having those very large wings, they don't fly, but they will use those wings to steer and maneuver themselves. These they can reach speeds of about 40 miles an hour. They're the fastest bipedal animal, which means they're the fastest animal on 2 legs. Well, we're also approaching a couple of white rhinos here. The white rhinos are going to weigh between 5,000 and 6,000 pounds once they're fully grown, so they're a little bit larger than the black rhinos we saw back in the forest. But their name was actually a massive mistranslation from the Afrikaans word white. That means wide and not white, and that's a reference to the shapes of their mouths. Their mouth shape does help them to graze out here in the savannah, and those cone-shaped ears give them pretty impeccable hearing. And we turn the ears inwards and outwards, which helps them to pinpoint where every single sound is coming from. So they're pretty nearsighted, so they rely very heavily on their hearing. Also, way up there on your left-hand side, you might be able to spot a cheetah way back in the tree line. She's laying down. And cheetahs are the fastest land animals. They can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. But they can only maintain those top speeds for just a few hundred yards before they slow back down again. But they're not just masters of speed, they're also masters of camouflage. If it took you a second to find her, don't feel too bad about it. They camouflage really well, especially during the day, which is why they're one of the only cat species that will actually hunt during the day.
Ali, ó.
And this is why they have those black teardrop marks underneath their eyes. Those are absorb sunlight and protect their eyes from the glare of the sun. So they're very welcome to hunts during the day. But they're not actually part of the big cat family, just because they're a little bit too small and don't have the ability to roar, which is kind of the main qualifying factor to make you a big cat. And so they communicate through a series of chirps, purrs, and meows, kind of like a house cat. This rock formation formation here is called a Kobe rocket. Oftentimes you'll find a much larger nocturnal cat species, the lions here. And the other lions are nocturnal, so they sleep and rest for about 16 to 20 hours a day, but that's not out of laziness. They do that to conserve their energy, and then at night, the females are the ones who go out and do all the hunting, while the male is responsible for staying at home to watch over the territory.
Olha lá, Alice.
And they're actually most active very early on in the morning or later on in the evening. And if you've ever been lucky enough to hear it, a lion's roar can be heard for up to 5 miles. That's right, and each other also how they let everybody know whose territory they're walking on.
Made for hunting and the male and female.
Lions, both are lions. Both are lions.
They got the cheetah. Look, cheetah and lion together. See? The cheetah
Cheetah are both lions.
పడుకున్న లైన్స్
You know your old spot back?
Trying to wake her wife up.
And right back to sleep.
లైన్ ఫీమేల్ ఫర్ హంటింగ్
and one.
రెస్టింగ్
I know they're coming. Now, where's the lion on the ground? The lion, why don't we see the lion?
That's any animals in these burrows right now, so we'll keep on moving here.
Where's the lion? Where's the lion?
టైగర్ కావాలి నెక్స్ట్ టైగర్ లేదంటే సీరియల్ టైగర్ లేదా
But what I am seeing off to your right hand side is a very large cluster of ostrich eggs. Another great sign, those are females that we saw just a few minutes ago. And those are the largest bird eggs, which makes sense because the ostrich is the largest flightless bird species. But you can actually stand on top of those eggs without cracking them. They'll be weighing in at about 3 pounds each, and that's equivalent to about 2 dozen chicken eggs.
కింది వేసేది ఇది వాటికి యానిమల్స్ రాకుండా
And our last stop here is the Magadi Glen as we're moving towards civilization and away from the wildlife out there. And here we're going to see a great example as to how humans and animals coexist and live in harmony. Here in the woods, well, there's a group of Nigerian dwarf goats. They're pretty amazing animals. They make great natural lawnmowers and they produce a lot of milk. The word can use to make cheese products. They use some goat milk and goat cheese in the local village. And it is more environmentally friendly to get these products rather than cows. Well, they're also incredibly playful animals. They love to run, jump, climb, and have fun. And the most dominant male of the group is actually established by which one is the most playful.
That's the animal playground.
But the ward is posted as on the edge of the reserve, so sadly doesn't mean our safari is going to be coming to an end here. We are approaching the outskirts of the village. But I know we've seen some really amazing animals out there, and I do hope you guys would agree with that. But they sure are a lot of animals that we don't get to see every single day, and some of them might seem kind of intimidating. But it is important to keep in mind that the biggest threat to every animal we saw is, unfortunately, us as humans. But that's definitely not all bad news, because we all have the opportunity and the power to help out those animals as well. And a really good way that we can do that is simply by remembering to reduce, reuse, and recycle. As that old saying can go a very long way and be a big step towards saving our planet and these animals' homes. And you can do very simple things every day, like turning off a faucet while you brush your teeth to reduce the amount of water that you use. You can also buy reusable products like reusable water bottles. Also just recycling right every single day. Whether that's while you're here in the parks or in your local counties at home. Take an extra step to learn what can be recycled and what can't be isn't having an impact. But since we are here at Ilkita, we always love to remind people that Walt Disney himself was a big conservationist. And he did say that conservation is not the business of a few people, but is a matter that concerns us all. But a very simple way that we can help out is just by learning about these animals and talking about them. So you're both participating in conservation just by being here on my truck today. So big thank you to you guys. And if you have any questions about anything we saw or didn't see out there, my windows up here are, of course, always open. And if anybody on board is a wilderness explorer, you've been riding on the Simba 1 today. That's Simba, like the lion, and one because you are number 1. But once again, y'all, my name is Josie. I am from South Bend, Indiana, and though this is going to be where we part ways here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye, as that is far too sad and far too final. So instead, we use a Swahili phrase, kwaherini, which means go well So cool Harmony, my friends. Go well, go wild, and have a great rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom.
E esse foi o passeio pelo safari africano.
Every on the right hand side.